Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Let me ask you a simple question. Why are you here? Not just in this room, not just at this event, but in life. What wakes you up in the morning, fuels your actions, and drives you to keep going, even when the road gets tough? Simon Sinek once said, "A people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it." And that's the heartbeat of what I want to share with you today. We live in a world that's obsessed with what we do and how we do it. But true fulfillment, real impact, starts with something deeper. It starts with why. Your why is your purpose, your cause, your belief. It's the reason you exist beyond just surviving the day. Today we're going to dig deep. We're going to challenge the surface level routines and uncover the core of who you are. Because once you discover your why, everything else, your passion, your confidence, your direction, begins to align. Let's take that first step together. To stop living on autopilot and start living on purpose. Clarity of purpose leads to clarity of direction. It's a simple idea, but its impact is profound. When you understand why you do what you do, deep down at the core of your being, every step you take becomes intentional. You're no longer just going through the motions or chasing someone else's definition of success. You're moving with purpose, guided by an inner compass that keeps you on course, even when life throws distractions or detours your way. In today's world, many people feel lost, overwhelmed, or unfulfilled, not because they lack talent, skills, or opportunity, but because they lack clarity. They're working hard, grinding every day, but they're not sure what it's all for. That's what happens when there's no clear purpose behind your actions. You might achieve goals, but without that deeper meaning, success feels empty. You can climb the ladder only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. Purpose gives you that wall, that foundation to lean on. It becomes the reason behind the effort, the energy, and the endurance. And when your purpose is clear, decision-making becomes easier. You're not pulled in 1,000 directions trying to please everyone or do everything. You know what aligns with your values and vision, and you can confidently say yes to the right opportunities, and just as confidently say no to the wrong ones. Clarity of purpose doesn't mean having your whole life figured out. It means understanding the why that drives you. It could be a desire to help others, to solve a problem that affected you personally, to be a voice for the unheard, or to create something that leaves the world better than you found it. That clarity gives your life structure. It sets boundaries and builds momentum. It's the difference between drifting aimlessly and sailing with direction. When people lack clarity, they often chase trends, mimic others, or jump from one thing to the next in search of meaning. But clarity isn't something you stumble upon by accident. It comes from reflection, from asking hard questions, and from paying attention to what truly moves you. It requires slowing down in a fast-paced world and listening to that inner voice that knows you better than anyone else. Think about the most inspiring leaders, creators, or change-makers. They weren't necessarily the most talented or best resourced, but they were incredibly clear on why they were doing what they were doing. That clarity gave them the courage to lead, the resilience to keep going, and the consistency to stay true to their path, even when others didn't understand it. They didn't get distracted by comparison or competition because they weren't trying to be anyone else. They were simply living out their purpose. And here's something powerful. When your purpose is clear, your passion follows. You don't have to force motivation or rely on outside encouragement. Driven from within. That inner drive creates a sense of flow and focus that turns ordinary effort into extraordinary impact. It also makes the journey more meaningful. Even the challenges become part of the story, part of the reason why your work matters. Clarity of purpose also affects how you influence others. People are naturally drawn to those who know who they are and what they stand for. Your purpose gives you a presence. It communicates authenticity. And in a world full of noise, authenticity stands out. Whether you're leading a team, building a brand, raising a family, or simply trying to live with more intention, clarity in your why creates trust, connection, and alignment. It's important to understand that your purpose doesn't have to be flashy or grand. It just has to be real. It has to resonate with you. You don't need a stage, a spotlight, or a huge audience to live with purpose. You just need honesty. When your heart and actions are aligned, there's a peace and power that no external achievement can match. Clarity also brings a sense of direction that cuts through confusion. Life will always present multiple paths, distractions, and decisions. Without purpose, those choices can feel overwhelming. But when you have a clear why, you're no longer asking, "What should I do?" You're asking, "Does this serve my purpose?" That simple shift changes everything. It gives your life rhythm and coherence. You're not just reacting to circumstances, you're responding with intention. Purpose gives meaning to your time, your relationships, your energy, and your work. It becomes the lens through which you see the world. And when that lens is focused, your vision becomes sharper. You stop chasing everything, and you start building something that lasts, something true, something that matters. Your why inspires action in yourself and others. It is the spark that lights the fire of motivation, the invisible force that moves people to act, persist, and believe in something greater than themselves. When you understand and connect with your why, your actions are no longer fueled by obligation or external pressure. They're driven by something internal, something meaningful. That internal drive becomes a powerful source of energy and enthusiasm that not only keeps you going, but also influences those around you in profound ways. Human beings are emotional creatures. We don't move based on logic alone. We are stirred by purpose, by meaning, by a sense of belonging to something that matters. When you lead with your way, when your actions are grounded in something bigger than just personal gain, others feel it. They don't just hear what you say or see what you do, they sense the intention behind it. That intention resonates with people on a deeper level. It builds trust, it inspires belief, it makes people want to follow, support, and contribute. This is why the most impactful leaders, movements, and organizations always start with why. They don't begin by selling a product or presenting a process. They begin by sharing a belief, a cause, a vision, a mission that speaks to the heart. And once people believe in that why, they'll follow through the what and the how. It becomes emotional, not transactional. People don't just buy products, they buy meaning. They don't just follow leaders, they follow ideals. They don't just commit to work, they commit to a cause. When you operate from your why, your energy changes. You're no longer chasing validation, approval, or short-term rewards. You're connected to something deeper that doesn't fade when the applause stops or when results take time. That kind of connection creates endurance. It helps you push through obstacles, stay focused when things get hard, and show up with consistency. You become someone others can count on, not because you're perfect, but because your actions are rooted in genuine conviction. Inspiring action in others doesn't require charisma or a loud voice. It requires authenticity. People are drawn to authenticity like plants are drawn to sunlight. When someone sees you acting from your why, they see something real, something rare. It reminds them of their own potential. It stirs something inside them. It encourages them to look within and ask themselves, "What am I doing this for?" That simple question can be the first step in someone else's journey to finding their own purpose. Think about the people who've inspired you most in life. Chances are, it wasn't just what they did that moved you. It was why they did it. Maybe it was a teacher who believed in you, a parent who sacrificed for you, a friend who stood by you, or a leader who spoke truth with passion. Their actions meant something because they were rooted in purpose. That's what made them unforgettable. That's what gave their influence power. In any field, business, art, sports, education, service, your why becomes your message. It becomes the thing that separates you from others, not because you're trying to compete, but because you're creating from a place of meaning. That meaning gives your work life. It gives it soul. It gives people a reason to care, to connect, and to participate. The ripple effect of living your why is impossible to measure. One person acting from purpose can inspire a team, a classroom, a community, or even a movement. It starts small. One conversation, one decision, one act of courage. But that energy spreads. Purpose is contagious. When you live it boldly, others begin to believe they can too. And suddenly, what started as a personal discovery becomes a shared mission. And when you know your why, you speak differently. You show up differently. You lead, serve, and create with clarity and confidence. And people respond to that. They may not remember every word you say, but they'll remember how you made them feel. That feeling, that sense of connection and inspiration, is what drives meaningful action. You don't have to wait until you have a perfect plan or a massive platform to start living your why. All it takes is a decision, to act from a place of truth, to let purpose guide your steps, and to be bold enough to share it. Because when your why is visible, it becomes a beacon. And that beacon draws people in. It gives them something to believe in, something to follow, something to become a part of. Start with why, and success becomes a byproduct. When you lead with purpose, the results you seek begin to align naturally, not because you chased them, but because you focused on what truly matters. In a world where people are often obsessed with outcomes, achievements, and accolades, starting with why shifts your attention to the root of it all. Your intention. It centers you on the mission rather than the metrics, the meaning rather than the milestones. And in doing so, it sets the stage for sustainable, fulfilling success. Success that isn't rooted in purpose can be fleeting. You might achieve something that looks impressive on the outside, but if it's not tied to something deeper, it rarely brings lasting fulfillment. That's why so many people reach a goal and still feel empty. They followed a plan, hit the target, got the recognition, and yet something feels missing. That missing piece is often the why. Without it, success is just motion without meaning. It's progress without purpose. When you start with why, you create alignment between who you are, what you believe, and what you do. That alignment is powerful. It creates a flow in your life and work where actions feel natural, decisions feel grounded, and progress feels purposeful. You're no longer just striving to prove something or keep up with others. You're building something that reflects your true self. That authenticity draws opportunities, relationships, and results that are meant for you, not forced or fabricated, but a natural extension of who you are and what you stand for. Purpose becomes the filter through which you make decisions. It helps you say yes to the right things and no to the wrong ones, even when both options look good on paper. That clarity saves time, energy, and emotional drain. It keeps you focused on what matters most and frees you from the trap of comparison. When you start with why, you're not distracted by someone else's definition of success. You're committed to your own journey, your own values, and your own mission. Starting with why also builds resilience. The path to success is never straight or smooth. There will be setbacks, delays, failures, and doubts. If you're only motivated by results, those obstacles can knock you off course. But if you're grounded in purpose, you have something stronger than circumstance holding you up. Your why becomes your anchor in the storm. It reminds you why you started and what's worth pushing through for. That kind of resilience is what separates those who merely start from those who stay the course. When you lead with purpose, your work gains depth. You're not just completing tasks, you're contributing to something meaningful. You're not just building a career, you're creating a legacy. Every action, no matter how small, becomes a part of a bigger picture. And people notice that. They feel it in your presence, your passion, your consistency. That kind of energy is magnetic. It attracts others who share your values and vision, which creates stronger teams, deeper connections, and a greater collective impact. Success that comes from starting with why is also more sustainable. It's not driven by hustle culture or burnout mentality. It's fueled by inspiration, not desperation. You're not chasing success at the cost of your health, relationships, or integrity. Instead, you're building a life where success and well-being coexist. A life where you don't have to sacrifice who you are to get where you want to go. That kind of success lasts because it's rooted in truth. There's a unique power in knowing your why and letting it guide your journey. It allows you to be both focused and flexible. Focused because you're clear on what matters. Flexible because you're not rigidly attached to how success should look. You're open to evolving, adapting, and growing, without losing sight of your core. That combination of focus and flexibility is what helps you stay on track while navigating an ever-changing world. Purpose-driven success also tends to have a ripple effect. When you succeed for the right reasons, you inspire others to do the same. Your journey becomes a model, your story becomes a source of encouragement, and your impact reaches beyond your own goals. You're not just climbing a ladder, you're lighting a path. That kind of influence can't be manufactured. It's the natural result of living with intention and letting your why lead the way. When your why is strong, you're not waiting for success to validate you. You already know who you are and why you're here. Success simply becomes a reflection of that inner clarity. It becomes the fruit of the seed you've planted, the seed of purpose, nurtured with passion and grown with persistence. And that's when success becomes more than a destination. It becomes a way of living.